still recording.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tom Hubric. I am the president of Redding Burke's HR Management. My company is a human resources consulting company, and what our company does is provide HR support, our personnel support, HR support to various organizations around town. We have about 225 clients. In Berks County, regionally, we have clients even overseas. So we have 7 employees. We have about $1 million operating budget. And just in terms of my background, I'm not from Berks County. I am in the Governor Mifflin School District. However, I have 3 kids that all go to Mifflin. I have a bachelor's in business and an MBA from Kutztown University. My undergrad's from Alvernia. So I guess what I'm here today to do is to talk to you guys about is exit interviews and letters of resignation. Those are the 2 things we're going to talk about. All right. Well, I'm going to start out by telling you a story, okay? Because I think stories are always good. All right. So my wife is also a human resources person, and we'll go back about 20 years when my wife was applying for a job at a local company, big local company, and she was interviewing with the vice president for this company. And the guy that she interviewed, his name was Dick. All right, so and the name was very fitting for him, let's just say. So my wife interviewed with this guy, and she came home crying. And she came home crying. She was so upset because the way this guy treated her and the way he behaved towards her was just so unprofessional, because he basically demeaned her and belittled her during the interview, saying, "Why are you even here? You're not qualified for this job. You're wasting my time," and promptly dismissed her. And my wife was devastated by this because obviously this was a dream job. This is a job she really wanted. So fast forward about 10 years from the time that my wife had her interview with Dick. You know, we had started our company. My wife is a business partner of mine, and we were hiring for our company, and we were hiring for a senior consultant for our company. And who do you think applied for a job with our company? A guy named Dick. Okay. So you know, Dick was referred to me through a friend, and he really wanted this job. So Dick, you know, he sent his resume in. I sent him a note just saying, "Hey, thanks, but we're not interested," and he just wouldn't let it go. You know, and the guy kept hounding me, and then he finally called me and caught me on the phone, and he says, you know, I'm really struggling. I'm really struggling to understand why you're not hiring me for this job, or you won't even give me so much as an interview. And I said, "Well, Dick, I'm going to be honest with you, you know," and I explained the story. And I said that, you know, 10 years ago, my wife applied for a job with you. She felt as though you were borderline sexist, very inappropriate with the interview, belittling and demeaning towards her. And by the way, my wife's also my business partner, so there's really no way I'm going to be able to hire you for this job, you know. And Dick wouldn't take no for an answer, but basically I just had to say, "Dick, listen, you can talk to me until you're blue in the face, but I'm not hiring you for my company because of the way you behaved 10 years ago with my wife," okay? Now, I share that story with you because the theme of that story is don't burn your bridges, okay? Berks County is a small town. The world is a small town. You know, and the one thing I just need to make sure that as we migrate this discussion into talking about exit interviews and letters of resignation is, you want to be objective. You know, you want to be honest, but at the same token, you don't want to burn your bridges in the process. Okay, so we'll talk about letters of resignation first, because that would be what you would do first. Okay, so let's say you get a job, and you know, you're at that job for 3 years, 5 years, or whatever the case may be. You know, let's say you got the worst supervisor ever, right? And they say the reason why. I think like 80% of the reason why people leave jobs is because they don't like their supervisor, right? And let's say you have a supervisor that's really not a nice person, all right? So you decide to leave the company. I don't know let me pick on somebody, this gentleman right here. What do you want to do for a living?
Go in the union with my dad.
Go in the union with your dad and work for?
Concrete.
Concrete, okay. So he's gonna go work in concrete for a company as like a mason type of a guy?
She strictly does like concrete pouring.
Concrete pouring and stuff like that. Okay, well that's a good example. Okay, so let's say you start going into, you get a job, you go into that business, you know, you're working there for 5 years and you're not happy, okay, so you decide to leave. Somebody else offers you a job making $2 an hour more, so you're all too happy to leave to take, you know, another job. So you're gonna give your notice, right? So what I would suggest in terms of giving notice is you should always do it in writing, right? And I know you all have your Chromebooks and know how to write a letter, okay? They're pretty easy to do. What I would suggest you do with a letter of resignation, first off, most companies require a notice, right, of maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Some companies require a month, depends on the job, right? Typically the higher level the position, the more notice a company is going to require you to have. So my first piece of advice would be is if a company requires you to give like 2 weeks notice, I'd give 3 weeks notice. Just give them an extra week if you can, all right? Now sometimes when you're going to another company, the other company wants you right away. You might not be able to do that, but typically giving an extra week of notice is a really good thing because what a lot of you folks don't realize as a business person is if an employee gives notice of 2 weeks, it's probably gonna take me like 3 months to replace, what's your name? Noah. It's going to take me 3 months to replace Noah. So giving 2 weeks notice isn't even scratching the surface. So the more notice you can give a company, the happier they're going to be, right? And then in terms of writing a letter of resignation, I wouldn't, you know, let's say that you weren't happy and Noah's supervisor was just a jerk. A letter of resignation should really just be, you know, I'm tendering my notice, I'm giving you I'm going to give you 3 weeks notice, but then I would say that, hey, listen, you know, I found another job, they're giving me more money, and I enjoyed working here, I wish the company all the best, and what have you, okay? So you're giving notice, but you're leaving on good terms, right? Because guess what could happen, okay, and this happens a lot, is, so Noah goes and takes a job with the other company, and then in a year later, the new company and the old company merge, and now all of a sudden, Noah's working for the old company again, right? And if he burnt that bridge, the first thing that new company might do when they merge is say, you're out, Noah, okay? So it's best just to not burn the bridge, all right? So now, that's easy. I would say that the easy thing is writing a letter of resignation, and there's plenty of forms and stuff you can do online in terms of those, but you know, give as much notice as you can. So, the next thing I want to talk about are exit interviews, because exit interviews are trickier, right? So let me ask you a question. Why do companies do exit interviews? You guys already talked about what an exit interview
No,
is?
they don't know what it is.
Oh, so you don't even know what it is. All right, so, well, what do you think an exit interview is? An interview when you're leaving the company, absolutely. And why do you think we do exit interviews?
They could like feedback on like the company, like working for them.
Yep, to understand how well you like the company. What else?
Problems.
To learn if there was any problems with the company.
To learn why you may be leaving.
To learn why you might be leaving. Yeah, I mean, those are all very good answers. I mean, the main reasons why, in addition to what you're talking about, are, well, I mean, just to reinforce what you were saying is, gee whiz, why are people leaving our organization? Well, Noah, okay, you know, he may have just found a company that's paying $2 an hour more, right? So maybe what's happened with the company that you're in, maybe the market for concrete pourer guys it has gone up, and his company hasn't given people raises, right? So companies want to know why people are leaving. Like, oh my gosh, if the competition's paying $2 an hour more, and I'm paying $2 an hour less, I'm gonna start losing all my good people. So they wanna know, right? They also wanna know if there's problems in the company, right? Why are you leaving, right? Again, maybe there is that rogue supervisor, that guy that's a jerk, that, or woman that's a jerk that people just are not happy with. A company wants to know that, okay? So what's gonna happen is, if you're working at a company and they, and you give notice, oftentimes the company will schedule you for an exit interview. Now, that exit interview could be in several forms. It could be a letter that's sent to you, it could be a phone call, but all too often, companies will try to sit down and talk with you. So if Noah works for his supervisor and I'm the HR person in the company, I will probably try to schedule a meeting to sit down with Noah and say, all right, Noah, let's talk, okay? So, Noah, I'm seeing you gave us 3 weeks' notice. First off, thank you for giving us that extra week of notice. That was very nice of you. Let's talk about why you're leaving, okay? Now is a time where you really have a decision to make as, a person in terms of, how honest do I really want to be, right? So I would, and I guess what I would do is I would encourage you is to be honest, but yet be objective, okay? If the reason why Noah was leaving is purely just because the other company is offering him $2 an hour raise, great, just say that. Hey, listen, this other company offered me $2 an hour raise, they're giving me an extra week of vacation, they're whatever, say that. But let's say that there are some issues in the company. Let's say that, Noah really is having problems with his supervisor. Well, the time to talk about that is now, right? But what you don't want to do is just say, I'm leaving because my supervisor is a jerk, right? You got to be objective and say, listen, one of the reasons why I'm leaving is because I feel as though my supervisor treats me differently than, my other coworkers. My supervisor behaves inappropriately and it really makes me feel uncomfortable. Be honest, okay? Because how can the company get better, right, if you're not honest with them? So I encourage you to be honest, but I encourage you to be objective and do it in a professional way, okay? And if you do it that way, then the company's not gonna hold anything against you because, frankly, if I'm the guy doing your exit interview, I'm going, wow, I'd like to give Noah a lot of credit for having the courage to speak up and be honest about why he's leaving the organization. So that's the reason why people do exit interviews, and that's how I would suggest that you guys behave in terms of doing the exit interview. And I would encourage you to do them. I know a lot of people are like, I'm out of here, and they don't want to be bothered, and they'll just decline and what have you. And that really doesn't look good it doesn't look good for you in terms of, possibility for reemployment. So really, back to kind of the beginning of my story that I shared with you regarding my wife, right, and this guy Dick, is you don't want to burn your bridges, right? You don't want to be a dick, right? So when you have issues and things like that, talk to the employer about your issues and things like that, but don't burn your bridges because all too often things can come back to haunt you. Just a couple other quick comments I'd like to make if I may. So I want to talk to you a little bit about, and you guys probably talked about this a lot already, but I can't help but reinforce it enough is, okay, so one of the things I do too, our company does, is we do a lot of hiring of people, okay? So if I'm considering Noah for a job, for example, let's say that Noah's name comes across my desk, and we posted a position, and we get 10 people apply for the job. Noah's one of them. What's your last name, Noah?
Ackley.
Noah Ackley. Okay. So what do you think the first thing I'm gonna do if I'm gonna consider hiring Noah? Guesses?
Well, you're gonna look to see if he is qualified to work in that position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good answer. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna Google the crap out of Noah. I'm gonna be all over the internet and I'm gonna try to find every single thing that I can find out about Noah before I'm even gonna pick up the phone and call him, right? And the problem I find with young people, no disrespect to you guys, is you don't protect anything. You just let it all hang out on the internet, right? How many of you have like Facebook accounts? I know this generation is not even, you know.
I have Twitter.
What's that?